Welcome to That's My Biz, the Internet Business Showcase, where we bring exposure to products, services, and special causes of local businesses and organizations. Thank you so much for joining us. We are coming to you live from the BizLinks TV studio. Brought to you by Southeast Computers, repairs, upgrades, custom builds, and restorations. SoutheastComputersATL.com. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of That's My Biz. I'm Pamela Alexander, your host, and as always, we enjoy bringing to you the wonderful businesses and nonprofits and organizations that we meet when we're out there networking. I have with us another wonderful guest, Ms. Zina Arthur. Welcome, Zina.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Now, I'll tell you, Zina has a vast background, but I want to remind you that you can go back and watch this episode at www.bizlinks.tv, as well as please subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/bizlinkstv so you can watch this episode again, share it with your family and friends, give us some thumbs up out there, and please give some feedback as well, and give some feedback to our guests also. Now, to get into it, Zina is the owner of ZW Designs, and they were established in 1983, developing apparel lines, and they've also worked with feature films, TV, stage, DVDs, and commercial projects as a cutter and tailor, developing and altering costumes and wardrobes. I mean, that is just so interesting to hear some of the behind-the-scenes things that happen. Now, I'll tell you, Ms. Zina is a senior apparel technician and designer, and she has over 30 years of experience, so she has seen quite a lot of things, and I can imagine seeing the styles and designs change over the years as well, right?
Indeed.
So now tell me, how did you get into this particular industry?
Well, actually, I started by getting into the field because I was interested in making apparel for myself.
Okay.
I took my first sewing class. It was the first thing I signed up for when I was in high school. I did it because at the time I was little teeny tiny, and I didn't want to wear children's clothes. They didn't have the teens and the tweens and all of this that they have now. They only had go straight to juniors, and I wasn't quite there yet.
Okay.
So in my mind, if I make it myself, I'm not wearing children's clothes. And I could do teen styling.
Okay.
And so I started there, and I love to sew. So I found myself, as I call it, in the basement, and they didn't let me out because I started making clothes for myself. Then I started making clothes for family and their friends, and making uniforms for friends' co-workers, doing the coordinating three-piece suits for sisters and their friends as they went to concerts and entertainment events, and pretty soon I was making clothes for everyone but me.
Okay.
But that's fine too, because that's what I found out I loved, was
Wow. So
making apparel.
a business was born. I mean, and you see, this is how so many businesses really start. They find they have a skill or they have a passion, better yet, for something, and discover that, I can do this for others and I can build this business. So now let's talk a little bit about that, because it's not just the being able to sew and make clothes. I mean, to really turn it into a business is something different. Talk about some of your experience doing that.
Well, when I first realized what it took to start a business, I realized I had sort of been in business all the time. I was working for my first manufacturing company doing apparel grading, and I learned that it was a trade that was somewhat of a dying art, and that people that had small companies could use technical services doing grading, because it was an area that most people didn't know how to do.
Okay, now for those of us that are completely clueless when it comes to making the apparel, we just go buy it. Tell them what apparel grading is.
Apparel grading is when you make a garment in the apparel trade, you make one size generally. When you grade it, you're making all the other sizes.
Okay.
So it's sizing the garment, but there's a proportional approach to it. It's a bit of an engineering kind of approach to it. So that's the area that it just so happened turned out to be my first job in the apparel industry.
Okay.
So it became very strong for me. So I officially started doing business by offering that service to other companies that had apparel lines, had retail stores, and they were developing their own lines. So it was helpful to them, but once I got in the door, generally I started doing their pattern making or their sample making, some assisting designing, whatever needed to be done, basically. So grew it from there.
That's great. I mean, it sounds like you have such a fantastic varied skill set with that, where, people like me, we're thinking is cut it out and sew it together when we know it's so much more to it than that. But you think of it as being that simple, but there's so many other areas that go into it. And then so now tell me about how you end up getting into kind of film and TV and working on sets like that.
Well, originally I started by assisting someone that had a project. They needed to turn it around overnight. Mm-hmm. It was actually Deion Sanders' commercial, Santa Claus.
Okay.
And so I stayed up a night or two helping her get them all done, and didn't think much about it beyond that. We all left, got our rest. Mm-hmm. And from there, there was a phone number you used to be able to call. Mm-hmm. Time moves on. There's a website. There's a whole network of things to get into. And then I go back and start talking to a friend that's in the film TV world that I had known over all of these years, and decided that trying to get in that direction may be a good idea. Also, my daughter was in theater, so I was assisting her sometimes, or assisting whichever group she was doing films with, and it kind of came from there.
Wow. And then now you have a specialty niche as well, where you work with choirs and ministers and doing their uniforms.
Right.
So again, how did that come about? I mean, it's such a vast story and a variety of people that you work with, but being able to really find those different key niches is great. So working with the choirs and ministers, how's that?
Well, that came about because a pastor that is here in the metro area, Pastor Carl Moore, from First Clarkston. He, at the time, was going to one of his first churches to pastor, and he wanted coordinated robe with the choir. And from there, the robe business began, because I hadn't thought of doing it prior to that, but he inspired me, and he has since gotten robes, and it's on the website. And so I was able then to do robes for Ebenezer Baptist Church, their youth choir, the Atlanta Public Schools. One of the choir directors also was an instructor, so I did robes for them. Then I started putting it on websites, and people just contact me, and I'm very fortunate because I do different minister robes. And New Mercies Christian Church, I'm now doing the robes for their ministers and elders as they come forward. So,
I mean, I think you're a great example of starting out as a small business and just the growth and development of your business, but really finding those niches, I think, which is so key, as opposed to just putting it out there in general. Some of the other things I'm already hearing from the business perspective, you mentioned, you started with the phone number, then you have a website, and just started putting out your work out on the website for people to see, and then I assume a lot of the business then grew into from referral business from that as well?
Yes, because most of my business came from word of mouth, and, but it was tricky in the beginning because it was such a labor-intensive work, until a lot of designers, they would get me and use me, but they wouldn't want anybody else to know about me because they would need me to do their work. So being able to get the word out myself was helpful. And I grew that, but I also realized I didn't have a big enough shop to be able to be the admin, the marketing, the everything. So answering machines became my friend prior to it becoming a big way of doing things. Now everything is automated, but I felt uncomfortable with it back when I started it. But now it's commonplace. So I've started trusting myself with doing little things like that. But I'm reinventing because the world of the web, the world of social media, my God, is a whole nother beast. So thanks to you all for helping me grow this piece.
Great. And I'm loving it because all these little nuggets, I hope you all are paying attention. Miss Arthur has a wonderful story, and her business is fantastic business, and we want to make sure that you are all out there sharing this information and letting other people know, getting more of that word of mouth out there. But also for those who are listening from the business side of it, and that pay attention to all the different businesses that we highlight on the show, picking up kind of that growth and development. And what we're hearing now, building a team, whether it's adding more people to it, adding technology to it, the resources to it. That's how you get your business to the next level, and that's exactly how she's been growing her business all along. Now. So with that, tell me some of the future plans that you have, because you got film and TV. Now, you're still doing work in film and TV as well?
I do. I do it through my workroom
Okay.
or directly on set.
Okay.
With regards to being on the show.
Okay.
So I was fortunate to be able to work Selma this past year. So for me, that was very exciting because all the storyline, one of my churches that it was actually the first church I belonged to in Atlanta, and Ebenezer Baptist Church. And so hearing the story of Selma firsthand from John Lewis and others that had been on the marches, and then the opportunity to work the show, that for me was awesome. Finding out the designer, which was someone that I looked up to in the field, Miss Ruth Carter. I was excited to do that. And then finding out Oprah Winfrey would be there, definitely someone that I had a passion and a love for the types of things that she did, you know, their outreach and things like that. And she is actually on my board that I kept at home for encouragement to someday be able to do some of the great things that she does. So, you know.
That's awesome.
I was just thrilled.
Yes, being able to check off those items off that vision board, I love that. So the film and TV, the working with the ministers, the choirs, and then you also added chorus and performance dresses as well.
I sure did.
Okay.
I ended up in that in a little bit of a backdoor way. I was servicing a company that provided chorus gowns, and there was a splitting of situations, so I ended up with a lot of gowns that I needed to sell. So from there, marketing chorus gowns came into play, and so that's a newer area for us. So we're trying to figure out the best way to market them, but they're there and available for those who it's not too late to get your chorus gowns.
That's good. So now, and tell everyone, because on her website she has a lot of great products, designs that are out there. So make sure you visit her website. Tell everyone how they can get to your website and what all they can experience when they go to your website.
Well, with my website, it's www.zwdesigns.com, and you can get to the site. You can look at some of the information from the customized point of view, because I work with everybody from custom clients to film, TV, to groups, uniforms, and apparel designers. That's another passion of mine, is to help people develop their apparel lines. But with doing that, you can look at the different things there. You could check out some of the testimonials. You could go to the store for the ministers. It's generally easier to go to the store, find a robe that's similar to something that you already prefer, and put in your options and place the order. You know, same thing with the chorus gowns and various products. So we're growing our product line, but right now you can experience it through just contacting us for specifics or contacting us for those things that are in the store.
Okay, that is wonderful. And also custom tailoring. Who would be a good client for you on the custom tailoring and fit and design?
Well, for custom tailoring, it gets a little tricky because everybody is not necessarily a customer that may be truly interested in custom tailoring and design. Generally, if you have a certain fit challenge, that's a great reason. If you are in situations where your wardrobing has to be different, that's a good reason. If you are in a situation where you're in different climates at different times of the year, for instance, one of my clients was a travel agent. She traveled a lot. But she was always somewhere where the weather wasn't here. So in order to pack and have outfits that she wanted to wear, she was also a larger size client. But she didn't like, as she put it, the moo world.
Right.
So, and she didn't like the idea of wearing black only and just being able to wear things that, you know, people look at as a mask, a bandage. She liked bright colors. And so things like that I was able to work with and provide for. And you get to know your client eventually, and things like she was able to purchase fabric out of town, but most of the time I did the fabric and purchasing for her. Well, we happened to purchase the same fabric. She was out of the country. I was here, but I had gotten to know her well enough that somehow miraculously we ended up with the same thing. So getting to know that client.
I love that. Yeah, and because I really love some custom, you know, and I love just that the level of customer service that you're talking about, where is, and you can tell her customer service is high because it's getting to know that client, getting to know who they are, what they like, their likes and their dislikes, and be able to kind of even get ahead of them, you know, oftentimes, and tell them, give them something before they even ask for it, and that's wonderful. And then lastly, I want to mention as well, you also do pattern software.
Right. We offer pattern software. We do marketing for it. It's another newer area for us, but it's the same pattern software that I've used over maybe the past 15 or 20 years. So I know it works. I know it,
Yeah.
gets the job done,
Yeah.
and I'm able to accomplish the goals that I'm able
Okay.
to accomplish. I actually ended up purchasing the software based on, even though I wanted it for years, but when my mom passed, she always said, "You work so hard, you work so
Yeah.
hard." So one of the things I said that I would do with some of the funds that were available after that was to get that software
Okay.
and try to make life a little easier on myself.
Okay. So then that allows you to be able to make patterns. And then now, do you sell the patterns as well? Do you make patterns for others, or just to make it easier for how you're doing your work?
Well, when I'm developing an apparel line, generally it goes from their concept
Okay.
to developing every aspect of their line,
Okay.
which can go from either the sketching, if they don't provide that, the patterns, the fitters, the muslins, the specifications, making the actual samples,
Okay.
doing mini production for them, and final production for them if the opportunity calls for it.
Okay, great,
Right.
great. Zina, I appreciate you coming on. Before we go, I want you to, again, let everyone know, first of all, who's that ideal client for you, who you're looking for to reach out to you, and then also, again, how they can reach out to you.
Okay. The ideal client has a lot of variables to them. We have the client that's the apparel designer, developing their line, a manufacturer. I work with them and digitally send their patterns and markers and such directly to them from the software.
Okay.
I am able to work with custom clients. I work with costume designers. I work with set deck supervisors because we provide interiors also. So it, the gamut, the ministers, the church apparel, the usher uniforms, it runs amok, you could say,
Okay.
but it's all sewn products. So to me,
Okay.
it's all one and the same.
Okay.
It's a new challenge to learn something new and different.
Fantastic.
But for the most part, you research it, you make
Okay.
it, you develop it.
Fantastic. And then give them your website one more time.
It's www.zwdesigns.com.
www.zwdesigns.com. Everyone, make sure you reach out to Zina and get that apparel done for you. Get those items created, customized for you as well, especially choirs, ministers. She is fantastic working in that particular niche. So please do that as well. And those that are in production, you need some work done. You've got someone right here. Make sure that you reach out to Zina. I am Pamela Alexander, your host of That's My Biz. Again, we want to remind you that you can watch our shows again at www.bizlinks.tv. Also, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Give us a thumbs up out there, and give us some comments as well. Give us some feedback on what you think about the shows and the types of shows that you would like us to continue to bring to you. Also, you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/BizLinksTV. Remember, with BizLinks TV Network, we expose your business to the world. Thank you for joining us. Today's show can be viewed on demand on our website at www.bizlinks.tv. If you are interested in having your products, services, or special cause showcased on our program, submit an inquiry to that'smybiz@bizlinks.tv. In addition, information on advertising and hosting your own show can be found on our website at bizlinks.tv.